welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you guys are having a goddamn fantastic Valentine's Day. Today's video, we are going to be going over my top 25 Valentine's Day movies, or actually anti-Valentine's Day movies. These aren't your normal Valentine's Day movies. Oh no, 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 no. These are anti-Valentine's Day movies. These movies are filled with murder and betrayal and blood and guts, cocaine and sea creatures and love-starved seamen, hookers, death cults, sex addiction, mannequins, grease. These are movies about people who are starved for love, who are out there searching for their lost love, who are outcasts, losers. These are flawed characters. A couple of these movies, these people are actually trying to manufacture their loved ones. I have a bunch of weird and crazy anti-Valentine's Day movies, and we're gonna jump right into them. If you could, please give this video a like. It helps the algorithm. It helps this video get pushed to more movie-loving folks like you. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. The origin of this video is actually interesting. I didn't really plan on making a Valentine's Day movie video, but on my Instagram page, I made this post. I post a ton of really fun movie-related content on my Instagram. Going over there and checking out some of my recent posts. I have a lot of fun on Instagram, posting movies and all kinds of movie-related stuff. I made a Valentine's Day stack, Blu-ray stack, and I thought, I have all these movies curated, ready to go. Why don't I talk about them to you guys? So that's where I am right now. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I got my Return of the Living Dead hat from Pallbearer Press. I'm wearing my Midsummer shirt from Graveyard Goods, and I am ready to go. Now I listed it as 25. I think I actually have either 24 or 26 here, but we're gonna go through. These are all coming from my personal movie collection. We are just going to dive right in.
I have seen one or two things in my life, but never anything like this.
First movie we're going to talk about is the underrated Stanley Kubrick modern classic and his last feature film, Eyes Wide Shut, with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. This is a really bizarre movie that covers really all kinds of things. What it is to keep a marriage together, weird sex cults, all kinds of weird abstract subjects. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman play a married couple. They've been married for a long time, and extremely odd things begin to test their relationship. It's really hard to put into words how creepy and weird and bizarre that movie is, but if you're a fan of The Shining or Space Odyssey and other Stanley Kubrick films, and you have not seen Eyes Wide Shut, check it out. It's incredible. It was his last movie he ever did. Awesome. Check out Eyes Wide Shut.
You want me to shoot sailor in the brains with a gun?
Next up, David Lynch's modern romantic classic. I don't know if you can call it romantic, but Nicolas Cage, Laura Dern. This movie is incredible. If you have not seen Wild at Heart, it's a really, really different movie for David Lynch. It still has the Lynchian aspects, but it's telling a bizarre love story. The really early performances from Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern, it's great. I highly suggest this one.
Hello, Jeff. I'm the man you're looking for. I'm Barney.
Next up, an underrated 90s gem starring Sandra Bullock and Kiefer Sutherland. This is one of my favorite movies, The Vanishing. The reason this falls into an anti-Valentine's Day movie or a love-themed movie video is because it's about Kiefer Sutherland as an absolutely grief-stricken man who has lost his fiancée or wife. Sandra Bullock's character. Beginning of the movie, they are on a road trip and they stop at a gas station, okay? Kiefer Sutherland runs inside to grab a couple things from the store. He comes back out and Sandra Bullock is completely gone. She has vanished. So then you cut to a couple years later, he's still looking for her, desperately searching for her. He's all bearded up and grisly, miserable. His life has been completely wrecked, and he's dedicated his life to finding his girlfriend. He finally gets a clue that tells him where she might be. Maybe she's alive, maybe she's dead. It's up to him to find out. An insane conclusion at the end of the movie. I highly suggest checking out The Vanishing.
What is this? Is this a shifter car? You think that's funny? I'm used to luxury cars. I drive cars that shift themselves. My cars shift themselves.
This is an indie classic that I've always loved. Buffalo 66. This is an insanely beautifully shot, super creative cinematography driven, kind of artsy film, directed by Vincent Gallo and starring Christina Ricci and Vincent Gallo. About a guy who gets fresh out of jail and he's trying to make his way home, and he has to see his parents, who he has a really love-hate relationship with. So he basically kidnaps Christina Ricci's character so that he can bring her home to his parents. So he literally rips her from a dance class, shoves her in the car, and then they form this really odd relationship. I'm not gonna spoil a lot, but it's a super, super unique movie. As much as you should hate Vincent Gallo's character because he's such a despicable person, there's a certain charm to him. The traits that he possesses kind of just seem to be something that Christina Ricci may kind of dig, even though he's a complete psychopath. Check this one out. And I will say, even though I'm not going to give a lot of spoilers in these movies have a lot of edge to them. These are hard R-rated movies. So these, like I said, these aren't romantic comedies. So don't think you're going to get lighthearted watches with these movies. There's a lot of gnarly shit in these movies. So just keep that in mind. Next up, one of my just hands down all-time favorite movies, period, is The Greasy Strangler. I know, you're probably thinking, what the fuck is The Greasy Strangler? But to those who know, you know. This is an insane, really unique movie that tells the story of a father and son. The father is a murderer who's addicted to grease and who is trying to steal his son Braden's girlfriend, okay? Braden plays this super loser guy with this insane dad. He's just trying to make his way in this world, and he finds this girl that he really likes. It's impossible to describe this movie. If a movie that has the title The Greasy Strangler appeals to you, I would suggest watching it. The reason I put it in this list is because the movie really does have the themes of just finding where you belong in this crazy world. He's just Braden's just a guy trying to find a woman, trying to find some purpose, and trying to fall in love, like all of us other movie-loving losers. So that's why I included that one.
Your name's Sean Bateman, right?
Right. Your name is Lauren.
Yeah. I bought pot from you last year. It was good. Little seedy, though.
Next up, The Rules of Attraction. This is based on a book written by the same author who wrote American Psycho, and they actually have some connections with the characters, especially Patrick Bateman and Sean Bateman in the universe is his brother. This is an interwoven, weird story of about, 10 to 15 different characters across this college campus in this college town, all crossing paths. But there's all kinds of batshit crazy stuff with drug dealers, weird sex things, and all kinds of really bizarre situations. It's a really abstract movie. It's kind of hard to explain, but I would definitely put this high on your list. The cast is amazing. You have Ian Somerhalder, Clifton Collins Jr., Thomas Ian Nicholas, Rookie of the Year, Jessica Biel, James Vanderbeek. What's the blonde girl? I'm trying to remember her name. I can't remember her name. But it's a fantastic movie. I highly recommend The Rules of Attraction. Really bizarre, but really fun movie.
Billion women in the world, and I'm trying to score with a statue.
Next up, this is kind of the wild card. I think just because I have such a massive crush on Christy Swanson. This is Mannequin 2 on the Move. The first Mannequin starred the chick from Sex and the City. This one stars Christy Swanson, a peasant girl from the medieval ages who by weird magic gets frozen into a mannequin and ends up in this mall in the late 80s, early 90s, and she gets kind of reanimated, and she's trying to find her way in this modern world. And it's just a love story. A guy finds her and they fall in love. This one is a super like family friendly movie that you could watch. This is a PG rated movie. I just find this movie a lot of fun, so I threw it on this list. I thought, what the hell? Now we're gonna get back into the bizarre.
You're just like you don't have a kitchen knife sticking through your Adam's apple right about now.
Carla, she's...
I prefer you not use my name.
What do you want me to call you, Timmy?
Two girls and a guy. This is a little gem that I bet not many of you have heard of, but it stars Heather Graham, Robert Downey Jr., Natasha Wagner, who's been in a lot of stuff, directed by James Toback. This is a super weird, unique movie that it takes place in one room. It's all basically just a conversation that's happening between these two people. These two girls are both dating this guy, and they find themselves both waiting for him to come home from a trip. So they're both standing on the stoop, and they start talking, and they're like, oh, I'm waiting for my boyfriend. He's an actor. He's on a trip. And they both start saying the same things, and they realize they're talking about the same person. Robert Downey Jr.'s character has been dating both of these women simultaneously without telling them, so they break their way into his apartment and wait wait for him to come home. And basically it's like an hour and 20-minute confrontation that goes off into these insane tangents and conversations and existential discussions and all kinds of insane stuff. But it's really bizarre. It's rated NC-17 for an extremely like graphic sex scene with Heather Graham and Robert Downey Jr. I'll leave it there.
Don't do that.
Being naked isn't the same as sex, you know.
It's a sin.
Well, surely God meant for us to enjoy ourselves.
Next up, The Passion of Darkly Noon. This is a really bizarre movie starring Brendan Fraser, Ashley Judd, and Viggo Mortensen. Arrow Video actually gave this a release. I couldn't believe they gave this a release, but it is a really, really good movie. Brendan Fraser plays a guy who escapes from this weird religious death cult. He stumbles through the woods, finds this house, this like idyllic cabin in the woods where Ashley Judd and her mute husband live for some reason, and he starts to become really obsessed with her. All kinds of weird things, but ultimately it's a story of obsession. For some reason, Ashley Judd invites Brendan Fraser's character to live in their house, help him out because he's in trouble, he doesn't talk much, he's really awkward, and he slowly starts to become really obsessed with Ashley Judd's character. Doesn't end well, we'll leave it there.
You're nothing but a dead head. A no body.
Next up, the modern Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein story, and we're talking about Bride of Reanimator, the second film in the Reanimator series. Dr. West is back, this time reanimating a female character. This movie is just an absolute blast. If you're into body horror, if you've seen Reanimator about Dr. West and his reagent, he basically has this chemical that brings dead tissue back to life, and even just parts. You can bring back an arm or a leg or a head. In this movie, he kind of creates a Frankenstein type of situation with the Bride of Reanimator. Special effects from Screaming Mad George, who did the effects on Freaked and Guyver, all kinds of amazing thing. It really is just a massive showcase in practical effects and practical gore effects, but ultimately it is a love story, you know.
Seymour was sprawled out on the back porch with his guts spread all over the concrete. And the fence was soaked in blood all the way around the yard.
Next up, May, starring Angela Bettis. I absolutely love this movie, and this one definitely follows the theme of somebody just trying to find somebody to love, trying to find somebody that accepts her. I'm not going to give a lot away because this is a super, super unique movie. This comes from director Lucky McKee, who did A Woman and Girl Next Door and a couple of other really kind of darker movies. He worked with Jack Ketchum a lot. He directed this movie. Basically, May went through some trauma as a young girl, and she's really awkward. She works at a veterinary clinic, and she's like obsessed with the people in her life, like whether it's her best friend or someone she sees on the street or a hot guy she likes or anything like that. And she starts to like certain parts of them, and she wants to create the perfect person. So if she likes this person's eyes, this person's hand, she might just end up making a friend of her own. Okay.
I dug myself out of a grave for you. Ow, Evan. You're drawing blood.
That girl is not Evelyn anymore. She's zombie Evelyn. She's Zevelyn.
Next up is Burying the Ex. Now, this is a really interesting movie. This actually comes from Joe Dante, director of Matinee and Gremlins and Explorers. A practical effects kind of horror adjacent director who I've always really appreciated. And this is one that gets really looked over a lot. And it also has the late, great Anton Yelchin. Basically, Anton Yelchin's character has this really overbearing girlfriend who passes away, unfortunately, finds a new girlfriend, Alexandria Diodario. She's this like quirky, really cool girl that is a little kind of, they're pushing it with her character a little bit, but ultimately girlfriend dies. He gets together with the beautiful Alexandria Daddario, and then his ex-girlfriend comes back, who she's played by Ashley Greene. I think she was in the Twilight movies, if I'm correct, so you ladies might like this. And she comes back to find her boyfriend with this new girlfriend, and she ain't having it. She's really upset. It's a super fun movie. This is an R-rated movie, but it's pretty tame. You can watch this, just a nice little date night movie. It's not as heavy as a lot of these other movies. Really fun movie. I highly suggest that one.
Hi, James. And I'm a nymphomaniac. Sex addict. We say sex addict.
Nymphomaniac. Maniac. This movie is a Lars von Trier movie. He's done Antichrist, Melancholia, House That Jack Built. This is a really bizarre, like almost 4.5 hour, or almost 3.5, 4 hour movie about this girl basically just recounting her entire life and all of the insane, like, sexual abuse and weird escapades. She's a massive sex addict. Everybody needs love, so there is some themes of just again trying to heal your wounds and find your person and trying to find people to connect to and connect with on a deeper level, on a sexual level. It's very bizarre. This movie is not going to be for everyone. It's extremely graphic, like borders on some like pornographic scenes, but yeah, you can check it out. You can see Shia LaBeouf's dong if you want. Next up, Natural Born Killer, directed by Oliver Stone, based on an early screenplay by Quentin Tarantino, starring Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis as lovers on the run, just on a murderous goddamn rampage, also starring Robert Downey Jr. This movie's a classic. If you have not seen this movie and you're a fan of Robert Downey Jr., Woody Harrelson, Tarantino, Oliver Stone, you will absolutely love this movie.
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company?
No, wait, huh? It's Jeffrey.
Got any money?
Next up from the late great, or not, he's still alive. I don't know why I said late great. Next up from Frank Henenlotter, one of my all-time favorite horror directors, is Frankenhooker. He loses his girlfriend to a tragic lawnmower accident and brings her back to life by putting together different parts of different people, brings her back to life. It's a batshit crazy movie, but ultimately follows that theme of being desperate to be with the person you want to be with and preserve something that maybe you should have just let go in the first place. That's the themes of this one. It's a great movie, great practical effects, great little horror movie.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Drunken enough, Virginia fence.
I seen it. You're fond of me lobster.
Next up, The Lighthouse. Now, the reason I put this in here, you might think, why the hell is this in the anti-Valentine's Day thing? If you haven't seen The Lighthouse, there are some scenes where these two gentlemen here are lost at sea for so long, and as they start to lose their mind, these two kind of fall into each other's arms in a couple scenes. They become really like, almost like, in this bizarre relationship. It's very, very strange. It's not like an overtly sexual relationship or anything, but they want to impress each other. Willem Dafoe gets mad when he doesn't like the food that he cooks, and it's just kind of a bizarre bromance story. So if you haven't seen The Lighthouse, it's A+, gotta see it, watch this movie. Next up, Midsummer, one of my favorite movies of all time. Tragic story of bad relationships, not leaving a relationship when you should, death cults, period blood, bear suits, all kinds of really, really fun stuff. So check this one out if you haven't seen it, Midsummer.
In the town of Valentine Plus, there are many ways to die.
Next up, My Bloody Valentine. Now, admittedly, I'm putting this in here because, I mean, how can you include a Valentine's Day list without having My Bloody Valentine? I have not seen this movie, so I'm actually going to pop this in a little bit later tonight and watch this for the first time. I've heard, obviously, good things. I picked up the Scream Factory edition, so I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie because I haven't seen it, but I look forward to watching it. Next up, another one of my all-time favorite movies of all time is Return of the Living Dead 3. A tragic, kind of sad zombie movie. I mean, ultimately it is a zombie movie. It fits in with the Return of the Living Dead series. It's the third and last great movie in Return of the Living Dead series. The first two are amazing, and this one's way different than the other two. It's extremely well made, and I'm glad they went kind of on a different direction with this one because it's really, really great. Another movie where Guy is trying to bring back his girlfriend after she passes away, but when she comes back after they use the reagent that they use to bring her back, she doesn't come back quite the same, as, you know, usually happens in these type of movies. But really well done, and it's actually really sad towards the end when you watch Melinda Clarke's character deteriorate and fight death and go through pain, and her and her boyfriend have to lose each other, kind of. It's really sad, but If you haven't given Return of the Living Dead 3 a chance, I know it seems like a really goofy movie with the cover, and it's part of the Return of the Living Dead series, but it's actually a really well-made movie. It really is. Next up, Guillermo del Toro's modern-day classic, The Shape of Water. This movie was really unexpected for me. I'm not sure what I expected, but after watching it, I just absolutely loved this movie. Of course, it's a woman falling in love with this weird sea creature, but ultimately it's about two misunderstood beings coming together and finally being understood and seen and heard for the first time. It's actually a really beautiful story. Outcasts finding other outcasts and ultimately finding love. It's really, really great. Michael Shannon and Sally Hawkins are just phenomenal in this movie. Michael Shannon plays a bastard in this movie, but highly recommend that one. Next up, Spring. This was directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who also did a movie called The Endless, which is absolutely phenomenal. But this is a really, really unique movie starring Lou Taylor Pucci about a guy who decides after he's had enough of his shitty little town, he's getting in trouble, getting into fights, he decides to go to Italy, I believe it is. And he goes and meets this young, beautiful girl who for some reason is really resistant to start any kind of relationship with him, even though she does like him quite a bit. And it's because she has a very, very dark, animalistic secret. Okay, I'll put it that way. It's a beautiful movie. It's beautifully shot, super, super unique, and again, kind of a sad but unique love story. It's really great.
I really like you, Darren.
I really like you too.
No,
What are you doing? Making lemonade. Want some?
The Crush, the 90s movie. This was actually Alicia Silverstone's very first film, starring Carrie Elwes from Princess Bride and Saw. He moves into the guest house at this well-to-do family's compound, and the young daughter, she's like 15 or 16, starts to become obsessed with Carrie Elwes' writer character. It's a really, really like kind of Fatal Attraction type of movie of obsession and ultimately murderous intentions. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's just phenomenal. Alicia Silverstone is so good in this movie, and so is Carrie Elwes. All involved are fantastic, but highly recommend The Crush. Great, great movie.
I am going to eat your soul and shit it out, Nicky!
Thought you only murdered boys.
I go both ways.
Next up, Jennifer's Body. Jennifer, who gets kind of turned in a satanic ritual by Adam Brody and his bandmates, and she comes back as a man-eater who devours men, literally. And there's, you know, also little like sexual undertones with her and her best friend. This movie is finally starting to have a kind of a second wind and gaining a cult following in the past couple years, and it's just awesome. I've always rooted for this movie. I've always thought it was ahead of its time. If you haven't seen Jennifer's Body, check it out. It's awesome. Next up, William Lustig's murderous classic, Maniac, starring Joe Spinell, a guy with severe, severe mommy issues who scalps ladies of the night. This is a really bizarre movie. It's a classic movie. This isn't going to be for everybody. It is a really well-made 70s kind of slasher flick with a twist because it's kind of got some dark, sad elements to it too. Next up, Irreversible. This kind of goes into the revenge category. This movie is told 100% from end to beginning. So it starts out with this insane scene with this character murdering people, and he's just going on a rampage, and you don't know why he's doing all this. And as the movie goes in reverse, it starts giving you what happened before the scene that you just watched. So everything kind of happens in reverse. So you don't quite know what's going on, and then you watch a few more minutes and then you'll understand, and then you won't know what's going on, and then you'll watch a few more minutes and then it'll make sense. It just goes in reverse. There's an extremely, extremely brutal rape scene in this movie. Like, I mean, really, really brutal. Probably the most brutal rape scene I've ever seen. So just be aware that that's in here. It's such a good movie. By Gaspar Noé. He also did Climax and I Stand Alone and Into the Void. He's done a bunch of stuff, but I recommend that one.
You love him? I said, do you fucking love him? Huh?
I think what you did
What?
I think what you did
What?
was so romantic.
Next up, another one of my all-time favorite movies, another Tarantino script, one that he wrote but didn't direct, True Romance. This is just probably my all-time favorite movie ever, starring Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Samuel Jackson, Christopher Walken, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, literally everybody. It's a guy who works at a comic shop, and a call girl. Christian Slater's boss hires him a call girl because he's a lonely guy on his birthday, and they end up falling in love, and it just goes all over the place when he helps her escape from her pimp. So basically, after they meet, he wants to help her get all of her stuff from her pimp because she is a call girl. He goes to get all of her stuff, he puts all of her things in a bag, and then leaves and grabs the wrong bag, and it ends up being a massive suitcase of cocaine that was her pimp's. So once he gets home, he realizes he's fucked up, and now he's got these crazy gangsters after him, and they are on the run. It's very Tarantino. You can tell he wrote the dialogue. It was directed by Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, who also did Days of Thunder and Top Gun and all that kind of stuff. But did you like it, Pete? It's one of Pete's favorite movies too. Actually, just had to cut in because I forgot to put that in there. So, okay, next movie.
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
And finally, I didn't intend for this to be number one, but here we are, number one, The Room. Can you really trust anyone? If you have not seen the best, worst movie ever made in the world of so bad they're good movies, this is the king. This is the top of the pile.
People are very strange these days. I used to know a girl. She had a dozen guys. One of them found out about it, beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
What a story, Mark.
What do you even say? So Tommy Wiseau plays Johnny, a guy who the world is just apparently out to get. He's the best guy on planet Earth, but his best friend betrays him, his wife betrays him, his fiance. You just watch The Room. If you've heard about The Room and you've yet to watch it, just watch The Room. It's your new Valentine's Day classic. I don't know. There's really no way to explain this. He was serious when he made it, but when you watch it, you think there's no way he thought this was a good movie. There's no way he thought this was a good movie. But it's just bizarre from scene to scene. So, guys, that is my list of anti-Valentine's movies. I hope you enjoyed this list. It's been a little longer than I had anticipated. I'm trying to keep this video under 10 minutes. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to keep a video under 10 minutes. I've tried, it's just not happening. That's my list. Let me know what you think of those titles. Let me know if you've seen any of them. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Stay weird. Hit me up on Instagram. Give this video a like. Comment below. Anything to help the channel, I would very much appreciate. Thank you so much. Stay weird. Until next time, bye.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them. And I love making them.